Hello, 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 everybody. Good morning, grand rising, grand rising. Good morning. Here you go. Here you go. Here
Yes.
you go. Here you go. I'm sorry, a little delayed this one. It's rainy in Georgia.
Rainy day in Georgia.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's going to be raining all day. Matter of fact, we just going to
Oh,
set in and just like, well, I ain't sitting in, but somebody going to be sitting in. I'm
yeah.
going to be moving in a little while. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latifa, executive producer of The Female Solution. Wow. Hello, Naima. Good
Oh,
morning. Good
well, it's
morning.
a great morning, isn't it? And
It is.
listening, if you want a visual, go to Soulful Solutions on Facebook and YouTube, right? Same channel, Soulful Solutions. Yes. So we
Yes.
certainly want you all to see and hear. But if you're driving or something, we know you can probably only listen, and that's fine too.
Yes. Any way you can get us, any way you can see us, we want you to hear what we have to say because somebody needs to be aware of this information. We
Absolutely.
had a pretty interesting topic today. I know last week you definitely went over those topics, and I am so glad that you did because then what I did, I'm just coming back over, just kind of give a little more, information on on these topics because a lot of people are dealing with this and don't realize that they're dealing with it. This is the thing; they don't realize that they're dealing with it, and is a very interesting topic because we know without a shadow of doubt that we can be affected by childhood trauma. And most people think what happened to me when I was younger, that means that, it's all forgotten. I moved on. It's not affecting me in any way. But the realness of the issue is that you ask yourself, why am I so emotional? Or maybe because my mother was emotional. Or why am I so easily irritated? Or, seems like I can't just find the right relationship. I feel that I've been failing on relationships and, something just doesn't seem to add up. Well, one should examine themselves in some type of way. Self-examination is necessary because most people just live. They just like, okay, every day I'm just going on and on and on. Oh, it's not my fault, it's theirs. They're the ones, you know, there's the one. Yes, I know I had 5 failed relationships, but it's not my fault. It's
Mm,
not my fault that I had 3 or 4 failed marriages. It's not my fault, it's theirs.
mm.
You know, it's not my fault that my family doesn't understand where I'm coming from. It's not my fault, it's theirs. So we constantly push away and not look at the in depth areas of our being, the in depth areas. In depth. You got to look deep down inside us so that we can see what's irregular,
Yes.
and not just think that it's everyone else's issue and not my own, right? But you also have to remember that you are the one that's living this life. So ask yourself, are you really happy? Are you really content? You know, do you feel out of sort? Have you lost your purpose? I mean, it's so many questions I could ask, and I'm not saying that everyone suffers, but to a certain degree, we all do. Okay, let's keep it real. We've all had some type of childhood trauma. And if
Yes.
somebody said, "Oh no, I had a perfect life," it wasn't me. My mother was perfect. My father was perfect. I never had. No one's never said or argued. I never had it. No, Wait a
Yes.
minute. Oh, so everybody was hiding everything from you, huh? That's what they were doing. Were they hiding everything from you? Or let's say you were one of the children that did not receive all the love that either your biological or whoever raised you, parents, influencers did. You don't think that affected you in some type of way? You
Yeah.
don't think it caused some kind of rift in your life? You know? Oh, that's right. We just want to forget about it. We don't want to think about any abuse, any verbal assaults, any put downs, any disappointments, any crisis, any trauma. We want to totally forget those, shove them underneath the rug, and just make pretend like they didn't happen. Oh, I'm older now. I don't have to deal with that any longer. Yeah, we could do that. But trust and believe. One thing, whatever's done in the dark shall come to the light.
Yes. Yes.
So let's be honest with ourselves just for today. Let's just be honest with ourselves just for today. Okay? Just for today, we look at ourselves, we examine self. Self, are you okay, self? Where are you? Are you self? Are you okay? Me, myself, and I. Are you okay? Because you seem like you was really upset the other day when you were on your job and somebody told you that you didn't do a good job on
Ooh.
your project. And you just let that thing roll around in your head over and over and over again. So you felt insecure with that, didn't you? Self. Or
Mm.
maybe it's the other day when you got in an argument with your sister and you said, "Oh, she's just jealous of me because I'm just so sick and tired of her putting me down." Maybe it was that.
Mm.
Or maybe it was your children. Oh yeah, that's right, self. Maybe it was your child that always seems like they can't communicate with you effectively, no matter how hard you try. You seem to can't get through to them. That's right. Maybe it's that. Well, all of them got problems, right? That's right. That's right.
Mm.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, everybody else got the issue. I don't have any issues.
It's
It's
not true.
them. They picking on me. They're making me feel this way. They're trying to take away my life force, trying to use my energy up, trying to distract me because they are jealous of me. They don't understand me. Mm. Or maybe it's the overcompensation that I have to do in my successes. I have to overcompensate with everything. I constantly, I have to overwork. I have to do things that other people don't do. And I just feel like, this is just too much, but I'm going to do it anyway because I got to show them who I am.
Mm.
I'm just saying. I want to be seen. I'm going to do everything to be seen. Well, let me give you a little feedback on that. You know, one thing about the inner child? I mean, you remember a child. A child goes through so many different changes and development. But one thing that it also does, it has tangerines, okay? It has a low tolerance for most things, you know. It cries, it weeps, it complains when it feels that it's not getting enough love, when it's not getting attention,
Ooh.
you know. It always feels victimized. Mommy, why are you doing this to me? Daddy, why you don't love me? My sister's picking on me. So, where do you think all that energy went to that you might have suffered in your childhood? When you might have been abused by someone mentally, emotionally, sexually, physically. You think it just goes away, it just goes poof. No, it's deep down inside our being. And if you suppressed and that inner child did not get the opportunity to tell somebody you hurt me, you hurt me, you took advantage of me, you took my innocence, you did something to me. And if you didn't get the opportunity to really settle that issue, it transitions. Those are traits. Those are suppressed emotions that transition into our adult life at some given point in time. And if we don't settle those things, we'll always feel like someone's doing something to us. All the time, someone is doing something to me. And you said, wait a minute, Dr. Deb, they are doing it because I saw them doing it. I'm not saying that these people don't have these type of actions. I'm talking about how you are responding to it. It's your response that you want to pay attention to. How are you responding? Are you responding as an injured child? Or are you responding as a victim? Are you responding from rejection? Are you responding because you feel somebody's not listening to you?
Mm.
Well, this is what the inner child feels. And if you really sit down and think about it, you felt this way years ago. When you sat on your bed or when you held your pillow or just sat in your room feeling forsaken because some kind of experience happened. It could be also in school. It don't always have to be at home. It could have been in school. Maybe you were bullied in school. Maybe something of that nature. And now you feel that your supervisor is bullying you
Ooh.
because of your responses and your perception of those things. And you say, wait a minute, doctor, that yes, they are, because they are just piling all this work on me and expect me to set these goals and do this and do that. Well, you got the job, didn't you? And you had to know it came with responsibilities. Yes, I understand people do pressure other people, but we have to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. You know, put yourself in that position. If you feel you can't do it, say, excuse me, sir, ma'am, whoever, this is not for me. Instead of staying there and complaining and going through the motions.
Being angry every day.
Yes, disagreeableness. You know, most people live in an emotional, disagreeable mindset. And they don't, I mean, they're so used to it, they think it's just normal for them to constantly disagree with so many things. They say, and then you hear friends on the sideline or family members, she ain't never satisfied.
Mm.
She
Yes.
always thinking something wrong. She
Always.
can never seem to get it. It just seems like always something's always going on in her life. What's wrong with that picture? You know, we look deep down inside ourselves, people, to look at our perception when it comes to life. Because life is one of these things. It requires us to do ongoing monitoring, monitor. Like you know that when you got your phone and you have a monitor at your home, you can see who's at your front door.
Yes.
Okay, guess what? That's you. That's you at your front door. You need to monitor yourself, right? Find out within yourself if you are just responding from perception or reality. When we respond from perception, that means our perception is seeing something that other people may not be aware of. And that's not, it's an alter ego process. Like if you always see something wrong, or do you always see the wrong in something? Do you always think that you see the wrong in something? Do you all often feel like a victim of life? I'm throwing these out here. These are inner child syndrome tendencies.
Yes.
Do you always feel like someone's doing something to you? Do you feel like you're always being taken advantage of? Do you always think you got to be the one to pick up the pieces from the brokenness around you? Do
Mm.
you always feel responsible? Do you always feel obligated? Yes, I said always. Are you the pillar of your family? That you are the ones that picks up everything, notice everything, ain't got to fix everything.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere today with this. Let me tell you the results of this if it's not settled and finalized. Mental illness.
Ooh.
Your mind can't take it anymore. You put on too much responsibility. And see, the inner child always wants to take on responsibility and take in internal damage from the feelings and responsibilities and the burdens of other people. Because again, it just wants to be rescued. It wants to be soothed, and it's letting you know, soothe me, please. I have been in this place of unrest for so long. My heart is overflowed with issues, and I have no other place to put them. Soothe me. That's all it's really saying to you. So if you're not listening to your being speak to you and you think everything just goes poof, because that's what people think. Oh, yeah, I went through a horrible childhood, and, I'm not like that today. Ain't nothing in me like that
Yes, it's
today.
over.
You
Yeah.
know? No, we are a product of our childhood. Ask any psychologist, psychiatrist, any researcher. We are a product of our childhood. But the goal about this is to be aware of the damage and do damage control. Most
Yes.
people never go to a therapist. Oh, I don't need a therapist. They need a therapist. There's something wrong with me, right? But then you find yourselves in times where you're so irritated and agitated with life itself. You don't think something wrong with that?
Mm.
Because something's in your being that's unrest, and it's has to do with some suppressed emotions that have transitioned in your adulthood. That's the way it works. Now, again, you can be in denial, you can avoid it, you can make pretend like it's not there, because all those things are three different things, even though they sound the same. Okay? You can just allow it to be a part of you and think that, oh, yes, this is how my life is going to be. I'll just never be happy again. I'll always be this way. I've never known what peace was or is or can be. Again, we are tripart beings, people. We're body, mind, and soul, but we also are is what was, what is, and what is to come.
Yes.
That's what we are. So let's take some time to reflect on our being. If you take time to reflect on your being, you're going to notice something. All of these tendencies that you may not really want to admit that you have, and symptomatics and thoughts and behaviors and habits, you say, well, that is me. That sounds Dr. Deb knocking on something. Every time I go into work, oh, I just get so irritated because of these people I work around. They don't seem happy. There's a good chance all of them got inner child syndromes.
Mm.
Most people just collide on each other constantly. They collide. They collide. People have collisions mentally and emotionally all the time, people. And don't realize, oh, why is she so irritated today? I did nothing to her. Well, this is what people live, right? Now, I want to go over some of these traits. I want to go over some of these traits so that we can really get a good understanding of them. Because I just don't want to just tell you what it is and not show you and really go in some in depth, right? And if you notice as I am going down into these traits within this hour or so, if you notice, say, wow, that sounds like me. Okay, you need to look at that. Don't let that continue throughout your life, because it's going to affect your life and it probably has already affected your life in some way. But I want you to be honest and up close and personal with yourself. And it is perfectly okay to do so. A lot of times we don't want to admit the truth and we don't want to be aware of it. But if we just ignore it, what do you think is going to happen if we ignore it?
Mm. Just gets worse.
It gets worse. Absolutely.
Before you
Absolutely.
before you
Go
go
ahead.
The traits.
Mm-hmm.
I got questions of two things. Um, a person who's always defensive, and you'll probably go through this, but a person who's always
Mm-hmm.
defensive, no matter what you say, they take it as an attack. Uh, you might say something like, "Oh, that's an interesting hat." Oh, you're ever trying to say about my hat? They always take it as it's something negative. Um, is that from being attacked? Because I feel like if you're always on the defense, that means you've had to defend at some point in time. So what are the experiences in childhood that produces that behavior? And then the second behavior, the overworker, the one who's always piling on more, taking on more responsibilities, feeling like they have to show, I can do this, I can do this. Is that what are the experiences that produces that behavior? Those are two I'd be interested to know.
Okay, well, the first one is when you give a person a compliment and they seem that it's hard for them to take that compliment. Those are what they call self insecurities. You
Mm,
see, there's what it was somehow or somewhere in their childhood memories or their childhood, examples or experiences is where they did not get complimented.
mm.
Okay, they always was told, "Oh, put your shirt on straight. Why you got it all crooked? You know, um, why you wearing that hat? That don't look good on you. Change your shirt. That don't match."
So every observation was always a negative. So now they expect it and receive it that way, even if it wasn't meant that way, because they
Correct.
had experiences of it being that way, where it was always a negative criticism.
Right. So they don't know how to take a positive compliment.
Wow.
Most people, like if you say, "Oh, your hair looks nice." "Oh, child, I did this last week, honey. I don't even know." Instead of just saying, "Thank you."
Thank you. Yeah.
You see
Wow.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they go through those again. It's hard for them to take any compliment towards themselves.
Wow.
They struggle right there. And the second one you were saying, that's overcompensation that I was talking about. You
Yeah.
overcompensate because in your childhood it was never enough.
Ah.
It was never enough. You didn't get enough A's. You didn't get enough acknowledgement. You didn't get enough validation from your parents or whoever raised you. I'm not good enough. You lived up to expectations and you expect somebody to say, "Well, notice me, mommy. I did a good job, but you noticed my sister, but you didn't say nothing about me."
So
So
yours
now
is never.
this person in their adulthood goes far and beyond to do
Mhm.
everything, overcompensate for success because they're afraid of failure.
Mm. The pain of being made to feel like, well, you're not worthy of love because you didn't measure up.
Yeah, and so they grow up thinking that they have to always do extra to be noticed. And really, truly, they don't have to, but that's just in their mindsets.
Mm.
That's their personality traits. That I got to do this A, B, C, D, and I got to cross every T. I got to dot every I. Because if I don't, then somebody may notice that I did something wrong, but really ain't nobody looking. It's only in your head.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Mm.
So they want to live a perfected life, and they'll tell you, "Oh, nobody's perfect," but that's not what they live.
They strive for perfection. Of course, you
They
never reach it,
strive.
which means you're always feeling like a failure because you're never going to reach the goal that you're reaching for, which is perfection, which is impossible in the way that you have defined perfection.
Correct. And even when someone says something to them, "Well, I don't know if that's right. You may need to do this." "Oh, why isn't it? I did A, B, C, D, well, whatever. Why is that not right?" "Well, let me show you the evidence." "Yes, it is." You get back and forth. You go back and forth and just say, instead of saying, "Okay, well, tell me how I can do that better." You're not
Right.
going to say that. You'll
Because you,
say that after you go through the ramp. I call it the ranting.
yeah.
You'll say that after you go through the ranting, and then you'll sit back. "Well, maybe I didn't do that right." Then you'll call a person. "You know what? I thought about what you said, but it's only after. You're not going to do it immediately because your impulses won't let you.
Because the memory of the childhood criticism and the feeling of
Correct.
that. So
Not being, yes, and it
intuition
goes right back
got
to
attacked. And
not feeling acknowledged, not feeling good enough, those type of things.
mm,
Because again, no one was there to compensate you or validate you in your stuff. Oh yes, you did a great job. You made a C. Don't worry, you do better. No, you did not. I know you didn't bring a C home. You better bring all A's.
wow. I know parents who think that that way of parenting is motivating a child. And I've seen so many parents that use negative criticism, which they believe is a motivator. And it might be, but it's negative motivation. Like you're saying, it produces that insecure adult who overcompensates and is imbalanced because that's what their parents used to try to motivate them to always uh, make them feel like you should try harder. And they think that they're doing good parenting. They think that that's because that could have been how they were parented, but they believe that that's what you're supposed to do to a child to make them try harder. So what's wrong with that belief, in that kind of parenting where, if your child competes, on a team, they didn't win, and you make them feel bad because you think you're going to make them play harder or play better next time, and so the child gets really obsessive about winning because that's the only way they're going to get your approval, instead of saying, oh well, you played a good game, it's okay, you all lost, oh, you struck out, you hadn't struck out, you probably would have won. See, I mean, just making them feel bad for failure, and then they become that person that's obsessive, and maybe they might succeed, but there's emotional damage. So
Right.
what's wrong with that belief about that kind of parenting? What
Well, most children are actually very resilient and high achievers. And we know that when it comes to riding bikes and just walking. A child, even, when it first takes the first steps, they vary from each other. You have one child that didn't walk until it was a year and a half, and then you got a child that walked when it was 11 months. So it just depends on the upbringing and the coercion of that parent. When I say coercion, it's like I am going to validate you even when you are not doing your best or even when you're doing your worst. I'm still going to validate you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to apply any pressure to you to make you think that you have to do something for me.
hmm.
And see, this is where most parents they look at though you don't know you don't pressure a child to do something for you pressure them to do something for themselves. And when
Yeah,
I say pressure, I'm not talking about applied pressure where
encourage.
it's to the point where it's overwhelming. No, you saying, like if I'm talking to a child that may have some type of tendencies of a low self-esteem, because most children who get low self-esteem don't have the proper validations.
Mm.
All right. So if you validate your child from the age of 2 years old, oh, you did a great job. But then if that child does something that you feel that was inappropriate, tell me why you did that.
Mm.
Instead of saying that was wrong, you a bad child. You know what I'm saying? Well, tell me why you did that, so I can understand what you saw or what you did from your perception, because I want to understand why you did it, not because of what you did, but understand why you did it. And so, proper parenting.
Still, but validation is like your opinion matters, even though what you did is something.
Well, you want to know why they did it, because if you just tell them that it's bad and don't do it anymore, you'll never know the why.
Understand their
And
perspective.
not only that, you can't correct it because you never know the why. There's
Right,
a why of why a child does something. I don't care if it's from 2 years old to 17. There's
right.
a why. You have to ask them the why. And a lot of times they'll tell you, "Oh, I don't know." They do know. It's just that they don't want to tell
How to
you because
express
of
it.
threatening,
Yeah,
feeling threatened that you may not accept them. Now,
yeah.
most children would do that if you didn't teach them younger. Now, if you start your child off at 2 or 3 years old and you let it know, okay, this is the way you do A, B, C, D. Now, do you question of how you do that instead of just reprimanding and demanding. You show them how, and if they didn't do it right the first time, the second time, the third time, okay, you ask them, what is it that you didn't understand about that? Instead of just reprimanding.
Mm.
Ask them so that they could get a good understanding, because it might have been something they didn't get. Because children's logical mind, like I said, earlier on other shows, the logical mind is not developed until they're 25 years old. So
Mm.
you expect your child to make a rational, reasonable, logical action, but they only thinking impulsive. So you have to teach, validate, teach, correct, teach, validate, teach, correct. And as you do this, you will then find out that you will head on or head off a lot of these tendencies that most people have today as adults, of feeling insecure, of feeling low self-esteem, or not feeling good enough, have to do extra this and extra that to compensate for not being loved, and not, I can go on and on, right? Now, remind you though, there's not a perfect child in no type of way. So you let the child know, okay, you saying, oh, that was dumb. Why did you do that? No, I saw that you made an error. Okay,
Mm.
you made an error. I don't even like the word mistake. Mistake is only a mistake if you didn't learn from it. Errors can be corrected. And you let them know you made an error. Okay, I see that you didn't, you made an error. You didn't make the best decision on that. So let's talk about that. I want to know what you think went wrong, what you think happened, so I can understand and help you through it. You see what I just did?
Yeah.
I'm asking questions.
Right.
Parents don't ask enough questions. They just so busy reprimanding, because that's the way they were raised. They're reprimanding constantly. Reprimand, reprimand, direct command, command, demand, reprimand. But if you ain't asking no question, how do you expect to know what your children are thinking?
Reprimand. Wow. That's the
Reprimand, demand, command. And if you go through your whole life doing the same thing, guess what that child is going to do? They're going to grow up doing the same thing, being expecting somebody to reprimand them, expecting somebody to demand them, expecting somebody to command them. Now, the thing about this is they don't like it. So how do you think they're going to respond? They're going to
mm.
suppress their emotions
Yeah.
because they couldn't say anything then. It's a good thing they ain't going to say anything as they get older. Then they get upset and they get angry. They get disagreeable with people. Oh, you doing this to me. You do it. Okay, here comes that inner child. Boom. Right there.
Mm.
You see how it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have a understanding of your own personality traits, I ain't talking about your mother, sister, brothers. I'm not talking about them. Okay? Yeah, they are involved in your life and in your mind too, because it's genetics. All right. But as
Mhm.
you become an adult, after 17 years old, you got to find out who the hell, who the heck am I? Who am I? I know my mother's child, you know what I'm saying? My sister's brother. Okay. But who am I beyond all of that? Because I done took on traits of all of these people I was around when I was a child. I even hear my mother say, "You ain't nothing just like your daddy." Well,
Oh
who am I?
my. That.
You just like your dad, hard headed. You don't listen. Okay, maybe I'm just like my father then.
Mm. Wow. Well, we got a caller on the line, but we got to take a break. So 773-960. Hold on. We'll come back to you after this quick break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325. Press 1. That lights your number up. Lets us know that you got something to say. We'll open your mic, get your thoughts. And if you're watching us on Soulful Solutions on Facebook or YouTube, write in your comments and we'll share them with our listening and viewing audience. And we'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you worry about finances, family, health, jobs, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down to earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments. Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green, and this is our wonderful co-host. Look at Naima Latif. Oh man, and it's our executive, our executive producer of the Female Solution. Let's take that caller, please.
All right, 773-960. Your mic is open. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Dr. Debbie Green. 773-960. Check your mute on your phone. Make sure it's off. Your mic is open.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, we hear you now. Yes.
All right, this is Kofi James, Prince James, called by my family.
Oh, wow.
My twins, they had a boy and a girl twins. They had a birthday yesterday.
Oh, how old are they now?
17.
How old are they?
They're 17.
17.
17.
Wow. Time flies.
Starting their own businesses, just supporting that. And I'm very happy for them because I pulled them out of the matrix young in life. They don't even deal with what's going on in the world. And I'm really so happy that they know who they are. They know they're not no African American. They know that they ain't from Africa. They know they're from here. They're Cherokee Indians from the Cherokee Nation, and they are at peace. We are the only group of people the whole wide world is focusing on today. And they mix us around, call us all kind of names to misuse us. But they're not getting my children. My children know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what's going on today. Look at what's going on. Who is the most talked about people on the internet right now? Black people. Us. It's all surrounded around us. The whole world, government, everything's surrounded around us. And what they're going to do with us. What we're going to do with black folks. See, that's why I'm looking at it. And most people will never get to this understanding and know that because they caught up in the matrix. They caught up in all the drama and stuff going on. And that's fine. You know, everybody's not going to get a clear view. But, you know, everybody's focused on us.
So, Kufi, as you raised your children and gave them a healthy definition of themselves, what are some of the ways that you helped guide them if they did something that you didn't like, in terms of steering them toward what you preferred in a way that validated them as opposed to the command, demand, reprimand, common parenting style?
I told them, that's a good question. I made sure that they knew that they were on their own journey, that I'm here to support their journey. Most parents dictate to their children. You know, if I take them somewhere, I would ask them, where do you guys want to go? And I made sure that they had their own focus on their life, and that I was a support system. And they understood, yes, I'm a father. Yes, I created you with your mother, but I'm here as your support system. And see, a lot of parents get that twisted. No, you do what I tell you to do. And so when they understand and you give them that, you know, it's like flying a kite. You know, you got a string on the kite, right?
Right.
You want that kite to fly higher? You let go of the string a little bit and it flies higher. Then you let go of the string a little bit and it flies higher. Next thing you know, it's not going on higher, but it's stable.
Mm.
So I make sure that they have their own understanding and give them, and on their way, give them a piece of wisdom, very strategic. You know, like I was teaching my daughter yesterday on her birthday. I gave her she signed some information on maturity, on how I was so happy that, you know, I can see her maturing. You know, you're thinking for yourself. So being a supportive entity, I never hit them, I never spanked them, because I want to break that cycle. I told them that, I asked them, I said, how many, and I made myself more important to them. I asked them, I said, how many of your friends in school have fathers?
Mm.
And they thought, they're like, wow, none.
What?
I didn't, you know, I felt like I took advantage of all the children at that moment, but they kind of realized, Daddy, wow. You broke the cycle, Daddy. Yep. You are lucky. And that made me more of an important part in their life. Because none of their friends have fathers.
That's kind of distressing to hear.
And we are, ain't that something? Ain't that something?
That's
I thought
very
she would
distressing.
say maybe one or two. I didn't think she was going to say none.
So that means everybody's coming from a broken family.
How many friends you got? I got 8 friends. None of them have fathers. She said, none of them. And she said, Daddy, when I go to school, they all asking about you. What's your daddy doing? I'm like, wow. And we are repeating the same thing over and over again. You just see it. I get so sad just to see it. There's a freeness. My children's mother, she's free. I'm free. Because we both are participating. That is the freedom. That is the family. That is the village. And if you keep perpetuating this father the this behavior, all of the dysfunction, it's just going to repeat itself. And in 2030, 2050, we're going to be 90s, we're going to be talking about the same thing. We're going to be like, what happened to the generation? What happened to the generation? We're seeing it playing out. So, hopefully that'll inspire, how we treat our kids, our children. I think about Mama D when I say kids, but how we treat our children. When you have a child, is like an offspring of you. If you hit your child, you're actually hitting yourself. Your children is the extension. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to stop talking because I can talk a long time about this. One of the most important things I told my children and explained to them who they were, I showed them pictures of their grandparents, their ancestors, pictures I got from 1800s. Told them what they did. We started a school, we had a church. You all come from royalty. You all come from greatness. Society is not going to ever tell them that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the most important thing that you can tell your children where you come. We just didn't come out the cotton picking fields. We was here in America before anybody else came, okay?
So defining them is important for self-esteem. Well, I certainly appreciate your call, and thank you so much for that.
Not defining. Showing them proper history. Give them correct history. And that'll definitive themselves. That'll give them a reason for being here. I'm not trying to define my children. I made them. I'm not defining them. You understand what I'm saying? That's why sometimes when we have you have a nickname, you have a name you call yourself. A lot of people change their name because they don't want to be under the control of a system or my parent named me this. I'm gonna rename myself.
Okay.
Well, that is
right.
too. Well, we got another call.
Let's move on. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
so much
for giving us your example of parenting, positive parenting. We appreciate that. And if you're on our switchboard now and have a comment, we certainly invite you to press 1. And one of our viewers texted, "Thanks a lot." So we appreciate all of you who are listening and watching.
Yes.
And if you're listening online and want to call in, 515-605-9325, or open your mic and get your thoughts. If you're watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, you can type in your comments in the chat and we'll pull it up on screen, share it with our listening and viewing audience, your comments. I think a lot of people have been affected by whatever their self-image is growing up. And if we were raised by parents who didn't feel good about themselves, that has an impact. Dr. Debbie, can you talk a bit about that? A lot of us have parents who came up maybe from the South, maybe from, the era where people, even in school, teachers at that time, they didn't have, and some today didn't understand that you don't say negative things to children like, "You're so stupid, you're so hard-headed." So, you have adults generally who don't understand that saying humiliating, degrading, insulting things to a child does not motivate them to do better. It only humiliates them.
Right.
Can you speak to that a bit about the whole culture of humiliating children and what impact that has for so many adults today who have such low self-esteem?
Well, as I said, we can be a product of our environment. And again, it takes different rearing or raising of children, not based upon cultures, but mostly based upon freedom. There's not a lot of freedom mindsets that we grew up around because of the enslaved mentality that's been transitioning for the last, 50, 60, even 70 years, of all things, because most people have an enslaved mentality, for something. You're going to be enslaved to something. It doesn't matter what it is. It is just like, a lot of people feel that they are totally free, and they want to make sure their offsprings, their children, are totally free. But as long as you live in this flesh suit, trust and believe you're going to be enslaved to something. So, in the reality of things, there's no perfect way of doing anything. You can show them, you can go back, you can go forward, you can go in the future, you wherever, and teach whatever. But until that person understands that they have a freedom mindset, then they will not even be enslaved to you and your upbringing and your cultivating mindsets. Because again, we are products of our environment. I heard the last caller, and I just wanted to add just a little something to that. The last caller in that Mr. Kofi James, and I commend you for being a good father to your children and being attentive, to their needs and their wants and their desires. And because the thing about this is, one will overcompensate if there's a parent missing out of the home, and I totally understand that. And that just like you, overly compensate for your children if they're not in, if there's a missing parent in the home, and it's vice versa. A woman, that does not have a father figure in the home has to also overcompensate for them to make sure that all of those things that their children are receiving. But one thing that we cannot overcompensate for, and that's a nurturing part of a parent that's missing. We can overcompensate for careers. We can overcompensate for education. We can overcompensate for even removal of society, or removal of the alterations of technology that are implanted in our world right now. That's focused on Black people because Black people are important. Okay, that's why they're focusing on Black people. Are the largest money makers actually on the earth. We are the we I mean, from everything, we are the largest consumers. In grocery stores and the hair industry and every industry, we are the largest consumers. So it's not by circumstance or happenstance that we are focused on social media, on YouTube. When you go on YouTube, yes, you see nothing but Black people. Black people making money, for whatever reasons. Black people talking about other Black people to make money, because this is what this that's what we came from. We came from a line of people that have been enslaved, but more so also very brilliant. We're
Mm,
very brilliant because we created everything. If you went back in your history, like you said, you can see that as well. We create everything, and of course, other races wanted to take, advantage of those creations because of due process. Well, that's a whole another topic for another day. But at the same token, even then, we cannot stop our childhood traumas. So we can cover them up. We can make pretend like they're not there. But one thing we cannot know what's in another human being's mind
mm,
unless they tell you, of course. If they tell you, then you'll know. Even sometimes it comes out in their actions. And the greatest thing about this, and sometimes it's the worstest thing too, is that we don't know what the damage is until they get a certain age.
yes, yes,
So, and I'm not saying that it's a tear down or anything of that nature. Just, be aware that, we can't have perfect nothings.
yes,
Nothing's perfect. And we just want to help our children to know, hey, you're not going to be perfect either. Because when they're striving for that perfection, it's what they call compromised misery. Because I have to be what I think I'm supposed to be because they said I'm supposed to be that. But then, wait a minute, maybe that's not what I might agree to that for a long time ago when I was a child. But as I became a man or a woman, I put away childish things and then wanted to develop myself into something else. But then I still don't feel confident to do that because I might disappear. I might disappoint the one that told me I should have done something that I thought I was going to do that I didn't do.
I know so many people
And
who,
it's amazing, right? It's
yeah,
amazing how that happens.
I mean, I know so many people that maybe they had dreams they wanted to follow, but they were criticized and not
They're
encouraged.
just not given the opportunity, though. Some of them didn't get the opportunity to do it because of, families, lack of money, lack of education,
Right? Lack
lack of
of support,
something.
lack of encouragement. Uh,
Yeah,
and even when we talk about developing businesses, we live in a fear-based culture. Many of us who were raised by parents who didn't have opportunities. So, you might have this great artistic talent or singing talent or dancing talent, something that's not the conventional job, 9 to 5, you go, you punch a clock, you do your work, you come home, you get your
hmm
paycheck on Friday. And because our parents lived in times, some of them maybe lived in depression, all kinds of things. And so if we sounded like we wanted to do something that didn't sound like it was stable, they may have been afraid to support it, or even trying to start a business. Maybe nobody in your family ever had a business. Everybody worked for someone else, some big company. Maybe there was, an industry in your town that everybody did, or stores that everybody worked at. So if you do something different, try to start something, be an entrepreneur, maybe that was not encouraged, because our families were very security oriented, because they fought through an era to just try to get the opportunities to work. And so now it's like, okay, this is how you make it. You get your stable job and security and your paycheck so that you can survive. And now you're gonna do something else. Oh, that's stupid. So I know a lot of people who really struggle. Maybe they had a lot of talent, but they didn't have support. They didn't have encouragement. They didn't have backing, because they were raised by people who were fearful that they would not succeed. And so they just kind of smothered their dreams, and they live a lot of frustration and bitterness because they
yeah,
didn't become what they would have become if they had had the courage to become it, but there was nobody to encourage it, because the people who raised them were people who didn't see the possibility. And
right.
sometimes
That's what I said.
they
hmm
just live lives of frustration because they were afraid to go against the people who didn't encourage them.
Yeah, that's what I said. We can be a product of our culture, genetics, and it could go back, saying 10 generations back, 10 generations back. We came from very hard working, dutiful people.
Yes.
There I can clearly say, we came from very hard, working, dutiful people when it comes to our black race, because of the hardship that was suffered between the 15th and the 18th century. You see what I'm saying? So all of that pain, transitioned into the genetics,
Mhm.
and it is coming. It comes down to genetics. It comes down to pipeline, and of course, as I said, a lot of people don't even realize that those energies, they do travel. Now as they travel, then we have to be mindful of those energies and adjust, our mindsets according to the life that we live for today, because it's easy for us to think that we are victims, and that's when our inner child always thinks it's a victim, not just based upon who raised it, but that person and their person and that person. It goes all the way back,
Yeah.
because again,
Energy.
people, yeah, energy travels, and again, you don't see the ramifications of it now, even until you become an adult, because now the rationale and the reasoning and the personality traits have set in at the age of 18. You see
Mm,
what I'm saying? And
right.
then later on, you don't start surfacing till you're 35, sometimes 45. You realize, wow, what's going on, and you won't know it until life is interrupted by some type of energy.
Mm,
Some type of energy is interrupted. So I know we need to take a break, and
yeah.
so when I come back, I want to go over these traits to
Yes.
kind of explain a little more in depth.
Right. We're going to take a break. Before we take a break, just one point maybe we can go over when we come back. Kufi mentioned this apparently growing trend, the absence of the cohesive family. And I know I've talked to a lot of men who are afraid of failure at relationships, or maybe they have had a relationship that ended, and so they're afraid to try again. They're afraid to form a family. They've seen the pain of the broken family. So this is kind of becoming an unfortunate pattern where people are afraid of failing at forming a family relationship, and so they just don't. But they have the children. But we got this pattern of the family that doesn't form or stay together, and too often it's the mother that's then becomes the overcompensating adult because she doesn't want to feel like she failed. And a lot of times part of that overcompensation is thinking, I got to buy this, I got to buy that, I got to buy my children so I can show that I'm a successful parent, overcompensating for the absence. And the maybe the father who's not there is absent because of the pain of his feeling like a failure, or somebody who doesn't have the capacity to be or achieve that level that has been set by the society. So I'm seeing that pattern, and that's creating this ongoing pattern that we have in our families.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow we had to break the cycle, because that is what it has become. But
Right.
we can talk further about that when we come back. And if you're on our switchboard and have something to say, press 1. We'll be right back after this quick break. You're listening to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. I'm Naima Latif, and we are on Soulful Solutions on YouTube and Facebook if you want to watch us. And if you want to call in, 515-605-9325. Press 1 to light your number up on our switchboard so we can open your mic and get your thoughts. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So stay with us.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solution Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Tucson Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and your cells feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jody Susan. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today.
Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Community and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Willie Wilson. Our kids are the future and should not be left behind. One person should not decide what is the best for our 77 communities. Politicians must work together for our kids' best interests. They deserve a safe education with resources that meet every student need. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Not approved. This message. Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
All right, welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. Right before break, you were asking about the family system and how things have changed, I would say, over the last 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
It's been more intense, I think, since the pandemic. I
Yeah.
mean, it was also an issue prior to that, because of so many different factors of how the family system is on attack. I mean, the factors of how things happen that will cause a breakdown in family systems are factors. Again, you have mental illness also at the top of the thing because we're dealing with suicidal ideations. You have homicide. You have these areas of addiction, incarceration. You have the absence of fathers and mothers that just choose to remove themselves. They choose to remove themselves from the home for no reason whatsoever. Just doesn't want to take the responsibility. Don't want a parent, so they literally just remove themselves from the home, like that, and because of their own reasons. Reasons could be because they want to start another relationship. They don't want to, far as finances, economics could be a great factor. And then you go into dealing with cohabiting families, nuclear families, because the mother-in-law is present or the father-in-law is present. So I don't get along with them. So it's so many factors, Naima, of why, the family system is destroyed. And of course, we go back to all the way to the 18th century where we were separated without our permission. And those separations, from the product of slavery, where we were torn to pieces. I mean, literally, mentally and emotionally and physically from our loved ones. So all of those things kind of transition down in there, and a lot of people don't even realize that they're still suffering from an enslaved mentality of not wanting the responsibility. So when we can take the responsibility as being a good parent, to our children, we don't.
Mm, wow.
So
I'm
it's so
seeing
many factors. It's not just one.
like one thing leads to another. If you
Right.
didn't see the example of what a parent looks like, then you really don't know. So you can't do
Correct.
it. And then when you don't do it, your children don't see what it looks like, so they can't do it. So let's
Right.
last 20, 25 years, this
Right.
has been the trend. And you have too many adults that don't know how to parent. They don't know how to be in a cohesive relationship where you work together in partnership for the purpose of maintaining a home, a family, whatever the case may be. They just didn't learn these skills because they were not demonstrated in their own families. A single parent can't teach you how to be a married couple because you have to see that there's a whole system. If you didn't experience, you don't know what it looks like. You don't know the process of working out things or organizing things or coming to an agreement on how you're going to handle an issue with your children. I mean, you have to see what that looks like in order to know how to do it. And when people have been raised in these single parent families where the parents didn't co-parent, they don't know. They don't know what it looks like. And
No, they don't.
we've got a couple of, 2, 3 generations of that. And we have to consciously change that pattern. We have to consciously rebuild that capacity to form family groups, because that's kind of the foundation of everything else that happens, child
It is.
self-esteem and all of that.
Yeah, it is. It is. And even if a parent is deceased and dies suddenly, because that's what we're noticing right now. And I say we as a society, we are noticing that domestic violence and family violence is on a rise. You know what I'm saying? And every time there's a parent of someone that is taken from whatever means, rather suicidal and murder, suicide like a murder side, where the parents says if there is a child that actually is survives that, if they survive it, then they'll have a tail the tail,
Yeah.
in it all. I remember just a few months ago, really it was last year, around July. It was last year, July. There was a mother and her children that was greatly affected by one of the children's father, the youngest child's father. The youngest child father murdered the mom and also murdered his 1 year old. And the two children that was left, that wasn't his children, but those two children were left were there when all of this happened, and their lives will never be the same. You know what I'm saying? So these are the impacts of the fabric of life that's being torn to pieces due to, again, we go back, and it's funny that I'll be talking about that. I just thought about it, but I remember his mother, the person's mother that killed the child and the mom. He said, you know what, he when he was younger, he always had these issues, and his father was so hard on him, you
Ooh.
know and she said, I just knew there was going to be something wrong how he grew up. So she knew that the product of the environment wasn't healthy, but she chose to leave him in that environment, which now is a product of damaging someone else's life.
I have friends. I get into discussions with a lot of my male friends about the parenting style of, the harsh disciplinary father. And some of them have had that kind of father uh, that was extreme in terms of the harshness, um, the criticism, the whole "I'm going to make you a man by beating you down" kind of parenting style. And I've noticed certain personality traits in those people, but you're going to talk about the traits. So I'll be quiet and listen as you talk about what kind of traits evolve as a result of what you experienced in childhood. But I do notice a pattern of men that were raised by those extremely harsh fathers who usually were not very demonstrative of affection or anything, just very hard, hard work and criticism, do it better and do it again. And what I see in the men, one thing I'll say, I do notice anger issues. That's one thing, but I'm sure you'll tell us other things that
Yeah,
you know happens as a result of
right.
what they experienced.
Exactly. So I'm going to go into this because I know we our time is a little limited here, and these are kind of extensive. Actually, this was done by research. Uh, Dr. Seth Gillihan actually discovered or really focused on these five personality traits linked to a painful childhood in development. And these are high impact events in childhood that could include abuse, neglect, divorce, or chaos in the home. So, when these things happen, it starts to affect us in many multifaceted ways. Again, a lot of people feel that they are not a product of their environment. And yes, that you may not be now, but that doesn't mean that you're not affected by it. So those pretty much significant experiences are, physical and sexual, emotional abuse, neglect, parental divorce or separation, a parent's incarceration, being exposed to domestic violence, and a parent's substance abuse or serious mental illness is the results of these type of traits. So the first one we want to examine is neurotism. Neurotism. It is a difficult childhood, places a person at risk of experiencing a high degree of negative emotion. They may be prone to depression, worry, anger, panic, or other forms of anxiety. Once a person is upset, it may be hard to recover. These emotional difficulties are understandable given that the person probably experienced a lot of difficult emotions as a child without
Mhm.
learning how to manage them. Now, mind you, we're going to stop right there for 2 minutes and just kind of discuss this. Most children that go through emotional trauma when they were younger, you know, don't get taught how to manage them. They just experience them, okay? And because there's a good chance that the parents also went through some type of emotional trauma and wasn't taught how to manage them. So a person cannot teach a person something that they were not taught it. Let's get that out of the way. So you always wonder, well, why did she or he do this to me? Because it was done to them. So for those who have issues with their parents and wanted to say, my parent put me down or my parent did this to me or did, there's a good chance your parents went through worse than what you did. They were just passing the baton. That's what they were
Mhm.
doing mentally and emotionally, unawares that they were doing it. You was like, well, yes, they did. They knew they hurt me. No, they
No,
didn't know to the extent that they
right.
hurt you because
Exactly.
these are just habits
They didn't know.
and
Yeah.
behaviors. They did
So
not know. So forgive them because they did not know.
So now, what about the parent who, you got a child that's angry, frustrated, 2, 3 years old, and they throw a tantrum, kicking, screaming, and the way the parent handles it is to snatch them up and start whipping them. What
Well,
does
again, this
when
is something
no?
you go back because this is what they experience. People only give actions and behaviors from a learning platform, Naima. They learned this. This was something they was exposed to. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? They
You,
saw it, even if it didn't happen to them, they saw someone else do it to another person when they were younger. I mean, regardless, it was a learned thing.
mm,
When we reprimand our children physically, emotionally, any type of way. It is a learned thing that we were exposed to, and that thing is called osmosis.
mm,
Osmosis is when you learn things from your audible, which is your ears, and your eyes, which is your video. So you learning this, and it's in the self-conscious mind of how you. This is how you deal with things. If you see violence, you deal with it in violence.
oh, I mean, I
That's
just
the
know
way it is.
parents that that's what they think
And
they're
it's
supposed
not
to do.
everybody though. But
They
some children,
believe that
right? But it's
the child expresses
correct.
anger, they're being disobedient or they're being rebellious, and so you just beat them so they know that they know you're a boss and you don't act like that. So
Yeah, but it's not. But what I'm saying is, some people. Now I don't know the statistics of changing this because I have not researched it. Some people don't even though they were exposed to the physical, reprimand. They choose not to reprimand their children that way because they know the ramifications of what they feel. And
yeah,
then some people just pass the baton. You
yeah,
see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's how that works. So these neurotism is that's when you have not the ability to manage your emotions, and
mm,
these emotions turn into other things like anxiety, worryation, anger, panic, because you don't know how to manage your emotions, right? Okay,
uh,
so number two, the next one is anger and aggression. Now, related to high neurism, because it's related, all these are related, childhood adversity also predispose a person to be angry, hostile, and verbally and physically aggressive. They may also tend to act impulsively. These behaviors may have been learned from observing them as a child. They may also have developed as a protective measure against loss or maltreatment. So some people put a brick wall up of anger because they don't want to be hurt. You see what I'm saying? They get aggressive because they don't want to be hurt. So that's what they look at. They look, oh no, you're not going to hurt me. What do you want? Even though a person is not trying to, but that's their mindset because they've been in this place of pain so long to that the ego defense mechanisms are putting the defense on first instead of examining it analyzing it and seeing, okay, how should, because they don't know how to manage the emotion. So that's the first thing they do is put up the brick wall, or they go right back into victim state. You doing this to me. You know what you're doing. You're attacking me. I'm angry at you because you doing something to me. So again, that's that emotional tie that a person will have when it feels victimized as a child. So you're still thinking with that same inner child syndrome mindset and tendencies. Now, now you come out of anger, you have to ask yourself, why am I responding to the stimuli, which is people, places, and things, as though it's hurting me? What in my mind do I feel idle threat that I have to always put up a big brick wall to think someone's attacking me? You have to ask yourself that question. Otherwise, every time somebody says the wrong thing, look at you the wrong way, do something, you're going to react the same way because that's your perception. You have
Yeah.
to manage that anger. Or if you need anger management, call Dr. Debbie Green because I sure would help you. Leave a message in the box. If you know you just irritable, agitated, frustrated all the time, that's not normal. It's not to be
Mm.
normal, and it weighs you down. Don't you know it takes more energy to stay angry than it does just to reside and be humble? That's overworking of your nervous system, leading again to anxiety, leading again to depression. All these things lead to the same area.
Wow.
They lead to the same area.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3 is low agreeableness. All right. Those who were mistreated or neglected early in life are more likely to be hard to get along with and get into frequent arguments. They
Ooh.
might have a hard time cooperating with others, preferring instead to go it alone. These tendencies may be related to experiencing a lot of negative emotion, including irritability and anger from your violators.
Ooh.
Okay, somebody violated your space, whoever that was. It could be sister, brother, friend, foe, whoever. Someone violated your space
Mm.
mentally, emotionally, physically. And when you violate a person's space when you're a child, you don't say nothing. You stuff
Ooh.
it. You
Ooh.
stuff that, and it comes out in your behavior as an adult. And you're just disagreeable. You're always complaining. You always think something's wrong. Nothing is ever right. You don't even know what happiness is or peace. You
Mm.
struggle in yourself constantly. And it's not that you may not have a good career. You can make all the money in the world, but you still ain't happy.
Still here.
Your relationships are still broken. You
Mm.
can't seem to find somebody that understands you. You can't find someone that understands the way you feel about yourself. You always feel that somebody's doing something, taking something, wanting something from you.
Mm.
Okay? That's what they call low agreeableness. That means you don't agree with things in life. You often look at the problematic things and create problems out of something that really is none of your business.
Woo.
Okay. All right. Let's look deep down inside. Let's do some perimeter search, people. Deep down inside yourself. The question is, do you want to live a life of freedom or a life of captivity to misery? Because that's what it is. And like I said, we can't blame the world all the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time. It ain't everybody's fault all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Not
gotta you
always.
gotta take some responsibility, right? To
Now
fix
I got a
yourself, to
quick question.
heal. Uh-huh.
I got a quick question. When these things happen in childhood, at what age, or is there a age where you begin to manifest those traits? Is there a certain point in adulthood, like late teens, early 20s, mid
Adolescence.
30s? Oh, adolescence. So
Start
adolescence.
manifest. It
Oh,
starts to
okay,
manifest
okay,
in
okay.
adolescence. You'll
So,
see it in your teenagers.
oh,
You'll
okay.
see them shutting down. You'll
Wherever
see
it's
them,
at, let's see.
screaming out loud. Okay, they still having tantrums from the inner child. Something
Mm,
happened even between the areas of, from 2 to 5, 7
mm,
to 10, and they may be 15 and 17 right now. And you're like, I just don't understand it. Why is she so disciplined? Well, look at your life. You look at you look at your life and see what you went through and see how your children are a product of your life. Let's keep it real. You want your child to be, you want them to be this and be that and grow up and be this and do that. But look what they've been exposed to. They don't went through all your trauma. Huh? They don't went through all your trauma with them, and they've been watching and feeling all your energy while you going through your trauma. Through your parents, or whoever else was around, your brothers and sisters, whoever else was around, they done picked up all kinds of trauma. But then you say, oh, well, I want you to do this and you should do that. And why are you so overly emotional? Why are you this? Did you not know? At
So
one
here,
point, you were overly emotional too.
so I see the pattern. You have
You see it? Okay.
the stressed out parent, and they're always hollering at the child, command, demand, reprimand, and very impatient, because they're stressed, because perhaps they're trying to overcompensate as the parent who is single, and they are in the child's early years constantly criticizing, constantly um, physically chastising them because they believe that they have to do this because that's the stress that they're under. I have to do this. I have to make them a good child. I'm going to discipline them. I'm going to make them work hard. So they do this, and they basically, destroyed the child's self-esteem. Maybe they got to work two jobs, and then the child's also feeling neglected. So you got all these things happening in the child's earlier years. And then when the child gets to be the teenager, with all this anger and rage that was repressed is now coming out, then the parent is going, I don't understand them. I gave them everything and they're so ungrateful and disrespectful. I don't understand these teenagers. But I see this pattern. And this is the foundation that was laid early. And this is
Right.
where the anger is coming out.
But the thing about this is what parents and I call them parental influences because it doesn't have to be a biological parent. It could be a nuclear parent and what they, as well, or, someone that's in the home raising the child. What they lack to understand is we can't raise our child with trinkets, with new shoes and $1,000 iPhones and these things, and you think you give your child everything that it needs, and you give a child, let a child get a adolescent get a permit to drive, give them a driver's license, buy them a car, and you think, oh, that child's just going to be everything but a bag of chips. But then you find later down in the line that this child doesn't develop a drug dependency.
Yeah, and you're trying
Because
to
it's
figure out
over, because it is overcompensating for something that you didn't give it before. I'm not saying, please understand, people, I'm not saying that parents fail children. I'm just giving you the facts. Now, wherever you find yourself at, that's where you find yourself at. Because I can't call nobody as a failure to nobody, because I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just here to help you recognize any traits or any symptoms in yourself as well as your children that need to be settled before the damage is done. Let me tell you a quick story. I have was exposed to a client that this child grew up in a family that was fairly well off. Okay, they didn't have any major money problems or whatever, and the child had a talent of running. Ever since he's been running since he's been 10 years old. Now he's in college, running for the college. I mean, on state teams. You know what I'm saying? But as he is transitioned from his home to college, he's crashing. He doesn't have his support around him, right? I'm telling him, hey, you're doing a good job, everything is fine, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? As his parents are saying, and the father was also a person that was on a team. He was on a team because his father was on a team in college and these things. So the child just kind of got pushed into this a way of living, right? So make a long story short, what actually occurred was that the child then again now he's 18 years old, he's in college, he's running for the college, he's doing a great job, he's but then he injures himself as he was running, right?
Oh,
Now remind you, that's all he knows is running, that's all he knows is
the
being a perfected
self-esteem.
person, because that's how his father raised him. Like, hey, you're going to be this great runner, you're going to do this, you're going to run the athletes, you're going to do this, blah blah blah, you just keep on running, son, you've been running since you've been 10 years old. So he injures himself, so he don't know how to respond to that. Now he
Oh,
can't meet expectations, now his grades start to drop, now he
oh,
doesn't feel, he don't have the support around him because he's in college, he doesn't have the people that were validating him around him all the time. So guess what
mm,
happens? He becomes suicidal.
oh no.
Okay,
Oh,
he becomes suicidal. All right. And so when asked, what is going on, I just feel all alone. I feel like
wow,
nobody's there.
wow,
I feel like I'm a failure. You
wow.
see what I'm saying? So I'm telling you this to help you to understand that you got to know what your children need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you may not gotten everything that you need in life, and that's fine. But acknowledge your tendencies so that you don't transition these things into your other children. Your other children. That's why I say it. That means your biological children. Because at some point, someone transitioned it into you and they
Right.
transition into them. So these things go all the way down the bloodline, right? They go all the way down the bloodline until one day somebody's life is threatened because of something that happened. And I'm not saying that's your case. Please understand, I'm not telling you that. I'm giving you an example of how adolescents from the age of 5 all the way to 18 just don't want to live anymore because of all of these things, going through divorces, not feeling good enough, being underrated, not being nurtured, not being loved that the way they want to be loved. Ask your child, hi, am I loving you correctly? Am I
Mm,
giving you what you need? I know I'm providing a roof over your head, I'm providing food on your table for you to eat, but I want to know, am I parenting you correctly? And if
mm,
I'm not, tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I'm not
mm,
perfect. Tell me
mm,
what I'm doing wrong. If I'm doing something wrong, if I'm doing something that you need, I want you to feel free to say, Mommy, Daddy, I don't like the way you speak to me. I think you speak to me too rough. I don't like the way you're pushing me, or whatever the case. But you let them know, I'm not going to judge you on that. I'm not going to get angry. I want to know what I'm doing, because guess what? I may be doing something to you that I don't even know about. Or I may need to do something and start something so that you can get what you need. You see
mm.
what I'm saying? So
Wow.
these things are extremely important to our upbringing, and this is going to help us with nurturing our families. Our families need to be nurtured, y'all. They do not need to be torn down. Just because a child did not did this or you didn't do, or whatever the case is, put it all on the table. I call it come to Jesus meeting. Okay, sit down to a table and say, okay, we're gonna just talk about our day. I ain't gonna say what's wrong and I ain't gonna say what's right. Everybody neutral. That's the rule. Everybody neutral. Everybody can say what. I had a rough
Not
day.
in my
Little
spirit.
Bobby pushed me down. I was so angry. Okay, and I'll say, yeah, honey, when I was at the work at the job, standing at the water cooler, I'm so tired of Sherry talking about people. I mean, say whatever it is, just let it come out, because
Yeah.
people need to know that they have a free space to
Yeah.
talk.
That's a whole new concept as well, because
Yeah.
you're coming from parents who teach you suppress your anger, suppress your emotions,
No.
suck it up. So, or
Culturally.
and then parents will be like, I'm always right. So for parents to even know that they should have the humility to say, well, may have made a mistake. That's a whole
Yes.
different mindset that they probably never experienced from their parents, because the thought was parents never admit to a child that they made a mistake. So that's the parenting
And
style.
I mean, and some parents do, Naima. Some parents realize, well, I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to holler at you like that. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that to you. You know what I'm saying? And for those parents that do that, hats off to you, right? But then go back and you still say, did that affect you? I
Yeah.
want to know if that affect you. I'm just not going to assume just my telling you I'm sorry that you okay with that. I want to know, did that affect you? And tell me how I can repair it. Tell me how I can repair it. And if you don't forgive me, I understand. I know this is a process and accept that.
Wow.
And you move on, but at least accept it. Don't think that the child's rejecting you and your inner child comes out. Or why you mean, I'm so tired, sick and tired of people, blah, blah, blah. No,
That's
no.
the
I'm
thing.
so sorry that's not an option for you. It's not an option for you to transition that stuff into your children. Because remember, they were once babies in the womb. Then they came to earth. Then you held them and you hold them close. You see what I'm saying? Okay, as they grow up, they get further and further away from you. Further and further away.
You
So
do.
while they're moving further and further away, you have to know how to instill love in some kind of way. I want to go through this one more time. Number four.
Let's take a last quick break, and then we right back and we'll finish
Yeah,
up the.
we'll come back and do these last two. Thank you.
Yeah, be right back. Stay with us.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, the female solution. Monday, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit zeldaspeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered. To stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. We'll make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening. Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
Oh man, God sent the monthly sun bill today. This sunlight is really expensive, especially during this season. I'll probably have to work overtime to pay it.
Well, you better pay it on time. We don't want the sun to go out and we're sitting up here all day in the dark. Wouldn't it be terrible if God charged us for sunlight? Well, thank God, the light and heat from the sun is free. So why are we paying such high bills for the energy we use in our homes? Because we don't know how to use solar energy, the free energy from the sun. You can convert your regular home to a solar energy home and save tremendously on your electric bill. Take a look at your electric bill. Would you like to reduce or possibly even eliminate that cost altogether? Let one of our solar consultants show you how. Call today, 312-849-3456 and schedule a free consultation. That's 312-849-3456.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. We are at the top of our hour. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I want to go into these last two areas
Yeah.
here.
And then after
Number
that, we
four
got
is
on the line after that. So
okay.
we'll take you after we go through these next two.
Okay. All right.
Into-
External success orientation is the next one. External success orientation. Early negative life experience can lead to arrogance and an unhealthy form of pride,
Mm,
perhaps to bolster an underlying sense of inadequacy or vulnerability. On a related note, the person will tend to crave fame and financial success, often in an effort to ease the pain and privation of the past.
ooh,
So, external orientations again is overcompensating for success and saying, "Oh, there may be a little narcissism that actually a thin line of narcissism in this particular trait as well. They have this over zealous feeling of pride, like I matter, and you don't.
yeah.
So,
I'm better than
and
you.
I
I
have to,
have more than you have.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
They may fluctuate in and out those tendencies, and again, it's because they feel inadequate. They were never felt they didn't get enough love. They felt like if
Mm,
you don't give me what I needed, okay, I get my own. I don't need you at
mm,
all, for anything, and you can just go away. And if the relationship, if the relations is not a part of this particular dynamic, they will always again, get to a point where they, I don't have to deal with you. I don't need you, and
mm,
a lot of people like this, guess what? They're single. They don't have relationships. Some of them never been married. Some of them and don't have kids. And that is it's a high statistic in that area because they don't want to share their lives mainly with anyone because of the
ooh,
past pains. All right,
wow.
number 5 is low engagement. Despite their focus on external success, the person may struggle to find true engagement in life. They may lack a clear sense of purpose and have a hard time finding constructive activities they care about and enjoy. They may also struggle to be productive and complete tasks. They may find it hard to feel good about themselves and their accomplishments. Socially, they will tend to be independent or even aloof.
Mm,
So they're going to be introverts uh, and don't often share their feelings with other people because again they feel inadequate. They don't feel good enough. They feel you know that they don't matter.
mm,
Yeah.
wow. Well, I've
So
seen examples of all of that. Every every last one of those
yeah,
traits. I've seen
yeah,
examples of that. It seems like
mhm.
everybody's going through some kind of reaction from a painful childhood. Does anybody have a childhood that wasn't painful? I guess there's a way to recover from it, but if you don't realize
Oh, it
that,
is.
uh, that you need to recover, then you don't. Well, you want to take this caller now?
Yes,
312,
and then I'm gonna give everybody some tips on how to recover.
how to recover from a painful childhood. 312-848. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Dr. Debbie Green.
My name is Rashida Ali. I'm calling from Chicago. I
Hey,
want to
Rashida.
ask
Hello.
you, hi, how are you?
Excellent.
I want to ask you about, have you found out that the environment can influence people's behaviors and motivations? A parent can do what they necessarily need to do, but once the child gets into the environment can facilitate or discourage, people, and especially, excuse me, now in the day that we're in today, in our ethnic group, environmentally, there's a lot of aggression and killing among ourselves. So I want to myself of several observations of research studies that even moms are affected by what's happening in their environment. And as me raising my child, I found out that it takes a community to raise, to help raise a child, not just a mom and a dad, because sometimes mom and dad have mental issues.
That's
So
right.
my question is, can you expound with your intelligence and knowledge about how, to me personally, at that time, how the environment influences people's behavior and motivation?
Thank you, Rashida. Good question.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have the ability to set the stage. Okay. Now the thing about, like you said, how can it influence us to be motivated, right? To take part in life and make those decisions that are best for us. You know. Now the self awareness is really the key point in this, Rashida, right? So which means that you can be in an environment that is very motivating, that's very uplifting, but if you don't have any self-awareness, have not been exposed to what self-awareness is, then you would not even be aware that you're in a good environment, right?
Mm,
So that being said, as we rear our children, because children are reared, not raised like corn, okay? As we rear our children, we want to let them know the value of them. Like when you, as a mother, raise, rearing your children, you let them know their value, their self worth. That you are valued. You're not valued by what your the color of your skin, or the definition of your character. You're valuable because God says you're valuable, right? You're valuable, and while you're valuable, here is what you need to take from that valued part of your life, right? So you take it like this: you're valuable even if you make that A or that B or that C. You're still valuable, right? So as a mother, nurturing the children is the most important factor of all, is being able to use the five senses to nurture your children. Touch, you know what I'm saying? And taste, which is preparing food. You know what I'm saying? Hearing affirmations. You are wonderful. You are valuable. You are good. You know what I'm saying? And as well as seeing which is by example. You lead them. See, mommy can do this and mommy can do that. Mommy, or whatever it is that your perception on staying motivated and motivating your children towards a higher self, because that's what they need. It's not being the highest self in society, it's the highest self in yourself, because society gonna be what society is. It doesn't matter what they are. You can pull them in or you can leave them in. But as long as they know who they are, as long as they feel comfortable in their own selves, they'll be able to thrive. They will do more than survive. They will make their own pathway. You see what I'm saying? They that's what you call them path runners. Path runners are people that they take all of the pain from our ancestors and they turn it into victory. You know what I'm saying? That's what you see a child that might have been the lowest child there is. I say lowest, which means that might have came from a home that was broken and torn down, but then that child then leaps and bounds in education, leaps and bounds in successes, because that child took that energy and turned it into something else, right? So as we stay motivated, motivation comes from a place called peace, comes from a place called joy, comes through a place called kindness, and love. Love is a multifaceted thing, but is used in education, is used in rearing a child, because that's what they has to know how to love. So you let them understand and help them understand that you don't have to learn helplessness. You know what I'm saying? But let's learn how to love. So when they love themselves first, they can love everybody else. And that's the greatest motivator of all.
Hmm. Fantastic. We got one more caller. I think we can squeeze in. Area code 773-450. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience. Give us your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green.
Grand Rising, good morning, and how is the grade to all? So I have a real interesting question about this. I've heard that so often that, you are what your parents make you and how your life is going to be adjusted because your parents aren't perfect. To me, that's bull for the most part. I can admit that parents aren't perfect. They do what they think, but at the same time, children don't listen to everything their parents tell them. They do just the opposite in most cases, even when you're trying to tell them what's right for them. So at the end of the day, what happens is this. We get a variety of all of the things, and they make you what you really are. It's just like being black in America. Can you imagine all that struggle that you go through? You're working hard, you get good grades, you score the highest on the test, and you get treated really crap. But I would never trade being black and all of the trouble that I have for what it represents. That people treat you bad because you're of a stock of race that created the situation. Wasn't on the background, just living. It's like they used us slavery in America to make this country rich. Then turn around and claim we're minorities and we don't know anything. Maybe people ought to stop listening to other people and do a thing called self-development. Parents raise you, they do what they knew. You need to take what your parents gave you and step it up. The things they didn't do, it wasn't necessarily their fault. Look at the environment and the situations they had to deal with, including having children. So the point is, whatever your parents have done, what are you going to do? Like sitting around watching politicians saying, oh, this politician did that. What are you going to do?
Well, you raised a point. You raised a point. Before we go, I want to see if we can get Dr. Debbie to address a thing. How do you teach a child to understand that nothing anyone says or does can change the reality of who they really are, which of course is a child of God? How do you instill that in a child so that they are not influenced by people in society that may treat them badly? They they have that strong foundation of confidence, inner knowing and awareness, self-worth. How do you instill that at their foundation so that they are not affected by anything anybody else says or does to them?
Well, again, you start at the earliest ages is 3. Okay, 3 years old. You help and you assist and you guide that person to know who they are. You're not just my mother's. I'm not just, you're not just your mother's child or your father's son or any of that. The goal is to get the self-identity of that human being and help them to realize that they are the precursor, they are the foundation, they are the molder of themselves. God has already given you what you need. You just have to use the power of choice to influence the power of decision. You see what I'm saying? Because that when you know who you are, when you feel comfortable in your own skin, then nobody can come in and eradicate or tear down or eliminate your thinking. But it's just when you don't know who you are, that's when the problem comes, right? So again, there's no perfect way to do this. They will go through changes. They will fall. They will falter. They will fail. And then you have them to look at failure and all of these things as not a point of reference of deterioration, but a point of building. Like, if you make an error, if you make a mistake, if you fail something, that does not mean that you are that thing. It's just that you used the wrong solution for it. Let's go back to the drawing board and look at another way of how we're going to look at it from perception. The child's perception should be a overflow of 3 things. One is self-acknowledgement, self-awareness, and self-power. Self-acknowledgement, self-awareness, and self-power. And you teach them each and every day. Teach them at the dinner table. Teach them because they don't teach them in school. So you can't expect that to be taught in school. This has to come from home. You
Mm,
see what I'm saying? So you can expect the teachers to teach it because the teachers don't have the time to teach that. No, let's keep it real. And
yeah.
she's following a curriculum that the Board of Education is giving to her. So
Right.
self-acknowledgement, self-power, and self-awareness. Teach your children that, and you will find out that they will then create the things that they need to create and understand this thing called life.
All right. Well, there you have
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel, YouTube, so that we can reach more listeners because this is vital information that's really going to help somebody, maybe even you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Fantastic. Another great lesson by Dr. Debbie Green. Thank us for a great show, Queens. Tune in tomorrow for health and well-being with Diata on the Female Solution. That was from our Friday host, Diata. Come on back tomorrow. Watch us on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution. And we should be on the Soul Purpose Healing Facebook page. So tune in to Diata.
Leave your comments about today's show.
I
Thank you
definitely
all.
know what next week's show is going to be.
www.naima.com.
We're going to invite, next week's show is we're going to invite the psychologist and we're going to talk about recovering from childhood trauma.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, the recovery, because I wanted to give more tips, so we'll do that next week. That's not a problem.
How to recover. That's right.
Recover.
Who participated in today's discussion.
And if people want
Bye.
personal
all around
counseling, how do they reach you?
Say thank you.
If they know they need a lot
Well,
more
through
input
my,
in this show.
yes. Yeah, do the email. I'll put that up. I'm gonna start putting that in. I meant to put it in this morning and totally forgot about it, but I will definitely do that next time. So we're gonna get off of these broadcasts